Even the bad games we review here on Believe in the Land. We strapped Tony to a chair, duct taped his hands, and put tape on his eyes. Said, "You must watch the Ravens game," and he did. And we're going to review it. And it's not pretty. Tony and Camino there. I'm Andy Billman here. Tony, you rewatched the game. I give you so many kudos. After watching it, surmise real quick. What did you see? Did it get worse, the same, or anything better? Maybe.
A lot of the times, the biggest theme, if I could put it in one sentence, is they were one guy away. Like all
Mm.
the time, it was one guy away. It was plays that you could see what they were trying to do, and it seemed like it could have worked. But whether they were miscommunicating, or somebody just got beat,
Hmm.
or it was a bad read by the quarterback, something went wrong seemingly every time. And sometimes even on the good ones, like early in the game, penalties, the Cooper hold that I don't really think was a hold, but it is what it is. Stuff like that. A lot of the flags, whole lot of things where they were really just one guy away consistently.
Sometimes that's sports in a way. Is one guy away. Cooper hold was shaky. A lot of flags. A lot to flags in this game. So we're going to start off with this. Tony, take us through what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so speaking of the flags, this is one of the common ones. This shot is only to show these illegal motions. They kept getting them called
Yeah.
because DTR continued to motion him so early. Njoku's not even set, and if you motion the guy over while not everyone's set, it's a flag, and it probably happened 3 or 4 times, and that's just what happens with a rookie quarterback in. But so we actually switched up the run type here. Usually we just run a bunch of outside zone. So now we're pulling. This is counter GY with backside guard pulling and the backside tight end pulling. Clowney 24 is lined up over Njoku. He's going to shoot that gap with the arrow. Njoku's job is just to wash him down and keep him inside. So then the two guards are, or the guard and the tight end ideally, come off the edge and they get first man free and then second man free. Unfortunately, this is what happens so often during the game. Teller blocks the same guy, Clowney, that was already washed down inside. And right away, that hurts the play. But if Harrison Bryant can still salvage this, if he gets Patrick Queen off the edge, but he doesn't. And ideally, Teller would take Patrick Queen number 6, and then Bryant would climb all the way up to 26, and then there we go. That's a 10, 12-yard run play at least. But instead, we got two guys blocking one. Harrison Bryant doesn't block the one guy left open, Patrick Queen, and Jerome Ford gets tackled for loss, so they decline the illegal shift penalty.
Hmm. All right. Let's get to the basics of this. You and I talked off the record about a bunch of things. Is this one of those? Is that Teller's fault? Who would you really put on
Um,
blame there?
it's hard to know for sure
Sure.
who it actually is on. Ideally, you don't want Teller blocking a guy who's really already out of the play. So I'd like to say he needs to be better there and get the first guy off the edge. But we were even still in a position. I'm not really sure what was going through Harrison Bryant's mind there. He saw first guy off the edge. Maybe he was confused because he expected Teller to block him, but nonetheless, that guy had to be blocked and stuff like that. It was a lot of times this game where two guys were blocking one, and then there was a free runner, and even on the plays that went for 5 yards, we were if you would have let one guy get up to the next level, then it would have broke for 10, 12, 15.
Really quickly, you mentioned something that I don't know if viewers would know. How much of it on these false starts or illegal motions is on the quarterback on this last game? Did you see some that's like that's DTR, not really the wide receiver here?
Yeah, every single one of these illegal shifts is on him. Any
Wow.
single time he's motioning a guy over too early. The
Hmm.
false starts, I it's hard to say. That one's probably just lack of everyone playing together. But
Right.
when you're motioning the guy too early, I mean that's just fifth round rookie, those kind of things are expected, but he needs to just be a little take a deep breath, let him get set, then motion the guy over.
The one thing I'll say on this for people who are out there who are ready to duck and dodge DTR, I'm not one of those guys. He had a really rough day. He really did. But I will say for a rookie quarterback to have to perform against the Ravens, on top of what Tony's just explaining here, it makes for a long day. It makes for a
Mm-hmm.
really, really long day.
Definitely.
And then you get to play against Lamar Jackson, who I thought played really well in this game.
Yeah, Lamar played like Lamar Jackson does. Watching it back, he made some unbelievable ones. This one, really, most people, there's a lot of guys in the league who are running this in. They did this zoom motion, jet motion with Zay Flowers all day, really just to mess with Brown's eyes. And we haven't seen anything like this. The Ravens, they've always been known for it, and they continued it with a new offense. They move a lot of their linemen, receivers to mess with these guys' eyes. And so you can tell that they're kind of in man here because Delpit is spinning back to where Thornhill was to play the deep. and then Thornhill's spinning down to take Zay Flowers coming across. But if they were in man, I'm not really sure why Taki's aligned so far to the core, like all the
Hmm.
linemen. Because if they were to throw it, like there's really nobody who could guard the tight end Andrews here if
Right.
this was a throw play. So the alignment already was off, and as you can see right on the snap, look at all the linebackers stepping to their left and the plays right, and right away they're all out of their gaps. And the first half, that was the problem because we haven't been exposed to an offense that did types of stuff like this. So to get all their eyes moving the wrong way, they step way too far. And right here, even if the problem here, in which I couldn't even really figure out, they must have been really poorly aligned because even if Taki's where he's supposed to be, there's still a guy short because they still have three gaps there and only right now one defender, and Taki would have been the other. So just a lot. The sudden change didn't help. They scored right after the interception, but a lot of times that they really adjusted well in the second half. So that makes me feel good about the rest of the year. That they're going to be. This kind of was like a learning experience for the defense.
Right.
Sadly, they're gonna. This is the first time seeing an offense that does all this goofy stuff to mess with your eyes. It's not just as straightforward as we've seen, but they did adjust well, and hopefully going forward, maybe the next time we play the Ravens, they get off to better starts, stopping the run.
Let hold this just for one more second. This is a bad thing in sports. When you circle something and you're cheering for the other team and your guys, except for one Miles Garrett's in the circle, that's not a small circle, Tony Drew. It's pretty big. Not good. I mean, it's just not in the area at all.
No.
The Browns were really out of place and out of sorts in this game. And, we always talk about the offense, but that's a fair example of the defense. And yes, sudden change. And yes, but it just shows to the point in this game of, gosh, how well the Ravens were coached. I thought
Yeah.
Harbaugh did a really wonderful job in this game. Well, we'll go to the next one, and this is the fake sneak, Tony.
Yeah, something was coming off this. We weren't going to just see Harrison Bryant motion under the center and sneak it every single time. There was
Right.
no way that was going to happen. We were going to run something off of it, and so this was the first little wrinkle they added. And I actually didn't mind it. So he takes the snap, pitches it to DTR, who then fakes like it's just a normal toss play,
Right.
plants his foot, and is trying to throw it. Njoku's going to run a double move, so he runs a post and then runs a corner route, and Cooper's just running it over. And as you can see on the next picture, Cooper's wide open. Like this,
Yeah.
this is a touchdown, but you can see DTR can't set his feet and let that. That's a far throw. He cannot set his feet and let that rip in the condition he's under because the blocking again. We couldn't handle pass protection in one guy. Again, I couldn't really diagnose who exactly it was that messed up, and you'll see that on the next one too. So when Harrison Bryant comes under center, it's hard to tell, but the guy right in between the two Ravens defenders, Patrick Queen, he sprints up right over Posick because they're expecting the sneak. So then when the snap comes, he's got two guys right over him. I would want to say in a perfect world, Batonio slides over and takes that actual interior lineman, but he doesn't. And Posick, even if he was the best center to ever play football, he's got a 2-on-1. And so the interior lineman wins pretty easily and disrupts the whole play.
I will just say one observation, not watching as much film as Tony did. I'll say one. Posick is not having a good start to the season. It's not been a clean start. He was very good last year. Tony, there's others we can point out to. My gosh, Jed Wills. I could do a
I would
well,
point out, I don't think any of them are having good years. Not
they're
even
really
Batonio.
not. Teller had a good week one. Batonio had some moments, but Posick, if you really watch up the middle, he's had a hard time this year to really start off.
Yeah. I just think the unit as a whole, they've got the talent. We've got a huge sample size of this O line playing and blocking well. Now, having Nick Chubb helps to hide that a little bit. He's got vision that's unmatched, but that wasn't behind a slouchy O line. They graded out perfectly. Like they did a very good job since Stefanski's taken over. That's been our strong point. We got all this money invested there, and Bill Callahan has a good rep for being one of the better O line coaches. So I'd like to think they're going to figure it out, and we've seen that they should, but we got to see it. I think the bye week came at a good time.
It really did, and I think it proves to how much one thing, and it's not a little thing. Deshaun Watson not playing really just set off the bouncing act, and wrong team, wrong week. The Ravens can eat. They're just so well coached that they're going to eat you up, and they did. The Browns really got eaten up on this Speaking of that, Mr. McLeod, though, this is on defense for the Browns. Hopefully, we're seeing something here positive, Tony. Hopefully, we'll
Yeah,
see.
finally a little something positive. It wasn't all negative. It was a lot negative. Defense still did play pretty well, and this is prime example of that. The Ravens did this toss sweep from the shotgun where Lamar just catches the snap, pitches it to the running back, and he's trying to get all the way outside. Rodney McLeod does a really good job. He recognizes the linemen are run blocking, so he can trigger right away. And they did have some passes off this, but
Mhm.
he noticed he wasn't even paying attention back there. He just saw the linemen were run blocking, so he goes right away. The ball's not even pitched, and he's already getting downhill. So that's a really good job recognizing it. And then when he gets to the point of attack, he slides right under the blocker. And even if this was it, even if the play for him ends there, there's five Cleveland Browns chasing him down. He would have forced him back in, but he ends up making the play himself. So really good play from McLeod, and that kind of highlights the depth this team has this year on defense. Because McLeod, I mean, we've seen him start before Thornhill came back, but he's not a starter and he's not a guy who leads the team in snaps. But for him to be able to just come in and still make plays with a team with all this talent shows how good they can be. And little hiccup this week, but again, I think it's going to be a good learning experience seeing all that new stuff that they weren't really used to.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say on this game that I would just tempt fans, it is just one game. Nothing really carries over. I think the defense, for the most part, will be okay.
Mhm.
The only thing I'll wave as a flag is I do think there's going to be something at some point with the middle of this defense when it comes to the defensive tackle. This game, it kind of got exposed a little bit at times. I don't think Jordan Elliott's cutting the mustard, Tony. And I think they're playing a lot of Hurst. They're playing a lot of Tomlinson, which is great. Shelby Harris, which I think is helping. But I think if teams were to watch, the Browns can be vulnerable right up the middle. It's much better than it has been. But I still think that's a little weak spot. A
Yeah,
little weak
they
spot.
struggled a little bit. It's hard with, again, they were just not really positioned well. Ravens did a lot of good things to take them out, but they are a group that really isn't going to overcome that.
Right.
So if they get in a spot where they're not in a great position, they can be washed out of the game. But I think going forward, they'll be able to identify these kind of run plays a little bit better and get themselves in a better spot.
Much so. So the last one is twist. What happens here, Tony?
This is again poor offensive line
Oh
play, and
no.
this happened on this drive specifically. It happened on this play, and then two plays
Uh,
later, happened probably 4 or 5 times during the game. So what this twist is, I try to draw it up. The D lineman who's in front of the linebacker is almost trying to like pick Batonio in that gap, and
mhm.
then allowing Clowney to then come around. And usually, how it's taught is the guard will snap off, but everyone teaches it differently, so it's hard to say who exactly was wrong here. But that is exactly what happens. The tackle shoots right in. Batonio's taking him, and you would think observing it that he can pass off the lineman to Jed Wills, and then snap off and take Clowney. Not sure if that's how they want to do it, but it certainly is not taught up to be like this because Clowney gets a free rush, and
Yep.
it happened way too many times in the game. And it's just a simple. They've been seeing this since they played college, probably even since they played high school. Like these aren't new things, and I know these are guys who've been playing together for a while. This is what 4 straight years of Jed Wills and Batonio playing next to each other. Those kind of things can't happen, and as you see, they caught the Ravens in cover three and had a great play call. Elijah Moore sitting down in that flat zone, he's wide open, and if he didn't feel comfortable there, Jerome Ford probably still gets the first down if you get it to him. And this was on first down, so even if you only got 6, 7, you're fine. Instead, he's got to throw it to the red circle, out to the flat, and you get like 3, 4 yards, and it doesn't really do a whole lot for you on first down. So again, it's that one guy away, one block away, and for the guys were there. We had open guys, we had opportunities. They just didn't execute.
What surmise this? You can go and say DTR stunk and Stefanski didn't have good play calling, and I've done that all week, so I'm going to spare it. Here's something I've learned through Tony. The offensive line is not bad, but it's certainly not good. And they're having some issues. Am I fair to say that, Tony?
They're definitely having some issues. I'd say 4 games in, don't want to overreact too much, but 4 games in, that's probably the biggest concern going forward. They got to play better than that, or we're not going to beat teams.
Here first. I think the offensive line needs to be talked about more. Tony's been harping it, and you've seen it on this videos here. They have one more week with the Niners, and they finally get some easing off. The Cardinals, the Seahawks, not as demanding. Seahawks are kind of, but they're not as demanding as the other teams we've been facing. And then we kind of go through the wash again a little bit. And then towards the end of the year, we play some teams we can handle. But these physical teams, it's been challenging. The Steelers, challenging. Titans, we kind of figured it out. This did not go well against the Ravens. I'm very interested to see what an off week does to this offensive line. Is boy, the Niners are boy. You want to talk about physical?
Yeah.
I mean
Niners are
that
tough.
as a
To give them a little bit of a break, it is the only excuse I'll make for them is it cannot be easy shifting the offense as much as they have to because we saw all offseason it was going to be like a mix of Chubb and Watson what they're good at, so under center shotgun. Then Chubb goes down. Now we're starting to try and gradually shift towards full shotgun, and then who knows when they figured out Deshaun probably wasn't good to go. Whether it was Thursday they were like, hey, he might not actually play, whatever. Now you have to decide, well, we had that good of a game. Do we want to abandon what we were doing there and go to something that could work, or do we want to just try to build through it? Not an easy call either way, and it certainly can't be easy on the line, but they still have to be better.
when you have guys who you can just hand the ball off to, like a Deshaun Watson, just make a play. Nick Chubb handing the ball off to him, just make a play. It helps. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have those guys right now. And I'll give one thing, and I'll get off this, and we'll close out. I don't think the Browns have a true number one running back.
Mm-mm.
I really don't think they do. I think Ford's a good two. I've actually grown there. He's not a one, and I don't know what to think about Pierre Strong yet. And I want to give it a couple more weeks. I think Kareem Hunt's a nice three. They just do not have a one, and
No.
it's a problem. In games like this, you need a guy. It's like, can you just take some of the edge off? And they just don't really have it. It's gonna make for some days like this. These are the days you really. I don't think people understand how talented Nick Chubb is. He is so good, and to have him out, you feel it in days like this, Tony. You really
Yeah.
do. You really do because you just can't pass along. It stinks.
Right.
Check out Tony's article on believeintheland.com. He breaks it down even more thoroughly, and you can talk about it with your friends and share it among everybody. He does all sorts of great articles throughout the season and on the other teams as well. Check out Tony at believeintheland.com. We'll end it there. Better days ahead. Gotta be better days ahead. Tony Community there. I'm Andy Billman here. Thank you. Check out all the great work on believeintheland.com. All right, I'm going to switch my background. I'm getting calls left and right.
All right.
Give me like 1 second. I gotta do something at 5 o'clock that I really want to do. So I want to tell these ladies in my life that this better be really important. All right, let's do. Would you rather do Guardians or Cavs next?
um, I'd say we could do Cavs because
Let's
that
do
one's
Cavs. I
already
think
up.
Cavs is gonna be a little longer. For the
Yeah.
Guardians, I would suggest we whip through it, not just because of time, but honestly because it's like three
Yeah, it doesn't
players.
need to be expanded. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really need to be. All right, give me like 1 second here, Tony. I apologize. Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to knock out these YouTube things. What's going on, babe? What's up there? Yeah, yeah. Like he is that's the one. So, hoping they can try to. No, 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 no. That's what I meant to say. By the way, I didn't say. Sorry. I meant to just. Okay, try them super quick. I'm gonna finish it with Tony. Then I do another call. With this former colleague of Billman, and I'll finally be done for the day. And I have one for this round. Get on the phone. All I can. All right. All right, Tony. Ugh. Here we go. Okay, this is Cavs Celtics themed. The Drew Holiday show.
Yep.
Perfect pickup for the Celtics, fuckers.
Really,
God.
they've been looking for this for a while.
I was so excited about Cavs. Gotta be honest, I'm kind of deflated. I'll talk about it more. Anyways. All right, I got a good even count. 4 seconds. Here we go. Camps have opened up, but there's been years where I've seen trades, but this season, holy cow, the trade wins right before the tip-off. Tony Camino there. I'm Andy Billman here. Celtics made a trade. We talked about the Bucks earlier. You can check out the video here on YouTube. You can check out the articles on BelievingLand.com. Celtics made a trade, and I'm going to lead off and let Tony take it. They made a trade for Drew Holiday. Now, the good news is the Bucks and Celtics may never win again in the 2030s because they're trading away everything. That said, that was a wonderful trade for the Celtics, which really bothers me, is the Cavs had such an advantage. I think it's actually a better fit than Keith Smart. Marcus Smart. I think I like Drew Holiday a lot. He's a gamer. He's such a good defender, and he has some offensive ability. I never understood Marcus Smart's offensive ability. I mean, he can shoot, but it's not like Drew Holiday. His defense is not as good as Smart, but it's still very good. It fills that missing void with Smart leaving for the Porzingis trade. I hate to say it, Tony, it's a good trade for the Celtics. It really is.
Yeah, it's the move they've been looking for. They've been saying all this time, basically since Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown got together as a duo. It's we need that point guard who can get downhill and get some guys some open looks. And they got it. And yeah, they lost Marcus Smart, but they got Porzingis in that deal, and then they replaced Smart with what I think is a definite upgrade. Smart is a great defender, but we saw what Drew Holiday can do on defense when he was in the finals. He's definitely no slouch on that end either. And it is tough. Definitely is an arms race in the East right now between the Bucks and the Celtics. But the good news, it sucks because the Cavs are it's life's getting harder when they're not even doing anything. But the good news is that this team's growth is all going to come from within anyway, and we knew that.
Yes.
This is the roster, and it's just about how quickly they can progress, and the patience might need to be had this year because Evan Mobley and Darius Garland are still 22 and 23.
Of course. I'll give some positive. I'm not fearful of Porzingis. I'm not a big Porzingis guy. And in fact, the Cavs have done pretty well against Porzingis over time with the Wizards and with the Mavericks. So I'm not in the Knicks. I know he played for the Knicks many moons ago. So I'm not really too fearful of him. And in fact, I think Mobley will be fine. I think Mobley or Jared Allen, we'll figure it out. But the Holiday move puts so much pressure on the guard situation that when they play them, they're going to have to probably put LeVert out there. They're probably going to have to put maybe even the times in Okoro at certain moments. Because Holiday, I don't know why, every time he played the Cavs, Tony, he always seemed to do very well. He's a grinding player. He really hustles. He plays very hard for 48 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think if the Celtics knew Drew Holiday, or if the Bucks knew Drew Holiday was going to get rerouted to Boston, they might have a little bit of second thoughts. They obviously want Damian Lillard, but that is for everybody in the East, that is the one spot we did not want him to go. Right away when that trade was made, I was like, all right, Holiday's getting moved anywhere but Boston, and it probably won't affect that much. But, of course, he goes to Boston. And less about Porzingis as an individual. I just think the addition of him helps what the Celtics do as a whole because
of course
they don't have they have all shooters on that team. Literally every single guy they will run out there can shoot, and that's going to be a challenge to guard.
The one thing that gives me hope is, again, what I just mentioned. Here's the other one. When the Cavs have played the Celtics, and this is an advantage, could be a bad one, it could be a good one. Tony said it. This is a very analytical mind team. They love the three. Do you know what that means? If they miss the threes, they're probably not going to win. And that was a big problem for the Celtics against the Cavs. Towards the third or fourth quarter, they were just chucking shots and missing. So that gives hope here. That does not really change with Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is not a three-point shooter. So it isn't like they're adding someone in there who's going to really shoot up threes. It's not like he's fine.
He's not a sniper. You're not going to...
Right.
But he's going to... If you leave him open, he'll burn you from there.
He will, but he's not... he's okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't scare me. If he could have a night where he makes, 6 out of 10, sure. But most nights it's 3 out of 10, so it's fine. But my point is, That's what you have to hope the Celtics do. If they take care of Porzingis in this matchup and they really show their strength, allow the Celtics to outshoot them or shoot through them because that's really what they do. The Celtics shoot a lot of jump shots, especially now with the new coach, who
Yeah.
really, I don't know what happened after Stevens left, but boy, and by the way, he didn't leave. He's just further up in the organization. But, boy, they love to shoot the threes now. Really do.
We saw it in their run last year. That's why they lost the series to the Heat. They just went cold. They couldn't hit
Yep.
shots, and the Miami Heat were playing out of their minds. I think the biggest thing right now to monitor with the Celtics, they have to still go get a backup big man because
Yeah.
Porzingis has played 60 games like 3 out of 7 times in his career, and Al Horford's 37 years old. You're not going to run those two out there for 36 minutes a game 70 plus times a year. So seeing how well they hold up, they're going to have to go get somebody who's reliable. Right now it's Luke Cornett. We've seen enough of him. He's not very good. And maybe, I mean, he's got some good height. So, and I know he's got somewhat of an ability to shoot, kind of, but they will definitely look to address that because as of right now, in a playoff series, they don't really have that. Robert Williams was nice when they played like the Sixers. They could throw him in
Yes.
there and control the paint. Now he's gone. They don't need someone that good, but they need somebody just like a physical paint body to come in and to help them get through the season.
Robert Williams is injured too. The Celtics have not had good luck, which is good. To me, the Bucks are superior. The Celtics, again, I'm already chipping away at it. I think the Celtics adding Drew Holiday is a good ad. It really does. And it changes my perspectives. I loved the Cavs before the Drew Holiday move. Now after that, it's like, well, take some steam out of it. But the Cavs can wear down the Celtics. If they're not shooting well and they can really get into the paint, I agree with Tony. And Al Horford, it's so weird. He's almost like a small forward guard. He really does not play inside. He does rebound, but he really doesn't play inside. And defensively, he can mow him over. It's really not that hard. And that goes to, again, I think in this matchup, it's better than the Bucks. I like this matchup better than the Bucks. Do you? I like the Cavs matchup to the Celtics compared to the Bucks.
Yeah, it's probably easier to game plan for that than it is how do you stop Giannis in the paint? And if you figure that out, can you also still stop Lillard from just completely torching you? We'll see how anybody figures that out right now. I like the matchup a little bit more, but I think the Celtics have a lot of potential to do some good things. They got to stay hot shooting, and they got to stay healthy.
Healthy and with the front court. The back court's there. And because even if they lose Holiday, they can replace him in and out. They'll be okay for a few weeks. If they lose Porzingis, I mean, you made a good point. That is a real. I mean, look, if the Cavs lose Evan Mobley, forget it too.
Right.
But again, like that. But Porzingis being out is a very likely scenario at some point. So time will tell. Tony will be doing an article, and we'll be up on BelieveInLand.com talking about this matchup going into the season. Again, for a quick surmise, I think this is better than the Bucks, but the Drew Holiday mood is a significant shift again in the East. And I'll end on this note. Let me see if you agree. I think right now it's Bucks, Celtics in this top line, but I think the Bucks above the Celtics, and then there's this group of four where it's the Sixers, Heat, Cavs, Knicks. It's kind of all, and they're not in that order, but there's kind of in that second grouping.
Yeah, that's probably the way it's been even before these moves, but now it's
Yeah.
really definitive. My feeling personally, and this is probably a little bit biased, I think the Cavs really this year will get to that point where they're in between those two because I really think they're better than the Knicks, Sixers, and Heat. I think they should be substantially better than those teams, but they're not quite in that top tier. I don't know if they make it there, but I think we should see by the end of the year the development that they are better than at least the Knicks and Heat.
Yeah, I'm actually, this is going to surprise Tony, or maybe not because of our previous conversation. I think the Knicks and Cavs are very close to each other. I think they're actually significantly better than the Sixers and Heat. The Heat have had a bizarre, weird, I mean, they had nothing worked out. And I don't know what to say about the Sixers. I think that's finally turned the opposite direction. So I kind of agree with Tony. I think it's the Knicks and Cavs in that next line. I don't, again, I got to, the Knicks just really, that elimination bothered me. So I got to see the Cavs a few times against the Knicks, see how they do. But time will tell. Tony Camino there. I'm Andy Billman here. Check out all of our great work and BelieveInTheLand.com. One more. Boy, by the way, if you're Miles Straw, that Anthony press conference was not enjoyable.
I really hope so.
Did you hear what he said?
No, I didn't even see it. What did he say?
We have one outfielder that we know that what's going to be playing every day. It's Stephen Kwan.
I really like that because that's how it has to be.
Yeah. He said Stephen Kwan's fine. Everybody else,
Yeah.
and he's right. He's really right. So, anyways, that was not a positive news core. I mean, Brennan couldn't have been. I mean, that's fine, but it's like, boy, Miles Straw on notice.
Mm-hmm.
Like the things are going to
That's
start
good
changing.
because Quan should probably be the worst outfielder we have, and that's not saying he's bad, but
No, I know. Well, we're gonna we're gonna talk about that. All right, 4 seconds. The Guardians are trained. Or blah, blah, blah. We're gonna try that one more time.
better to start with A because it's easy fix.
God, 5 seconds. Here we go. A changing of the guards going on with Terry Francona stepping down, but we're gonna actually talk about players that would be okay if they left. Tony Camino there, and Manny Billman here. We'll do this one at a time. I'll let Tony go first, and I'll give two names. Tony, your first name, players, you would be okay if they didn't come back.
There's a longer list than you like, unfortunately, but I think starting off with the top, the most obvious one has to be Miles Straw. We saw him start now every day, basically since we traded for him, and he's got his positives as a defender, but even when he starts getting hot, it's not producing too much because he doesn't steal bases and he only hits singles and he doesn't walk. So yes, he gets from first to third really well. Yes, he plays good defense, but he doesn't really bring anything to the table offensively, and that just can't happen with the lack of power we have on the rest of the team.
Yep. I'll add it to 1A. Here's this about Straw. He can really defend, but he really struggles. And what bothers me most about Straw, he can't bunt. For a guy that fast, you'd figure he could bunt. It's very annoying as a fan. You can't bunt. I mean, if you can't bunt and you're not hitting home runs, I don't know what's going on. I'll add to my second pick is Oscar Gonzalez, SpongeBob. I've seen enough. His defense is atrocious, and we don't need to say much about his bat. I don't understand SpongeBob. I'm so happy for him. I hope he carries around 2022 in his heart. He's a good guy. He was awful this year. I don't see it, Tony. I don't see it. I think he needs a full year in AAA. I just don't see it.
I don't. Unfortunately, with him, I don't know. I've been on that plane basically since we called him back up. His plate discipline is nowhere near where it needs to be. If he could just swing at better pitches, we saw what he can do. But he has no idea what he's swinging at, and it's unfortunate because you saw the pop. But yeah, I definitely don't would like to not see him back next year.
Yeah. So, what's your player number 2, or do you want to give it to Oscar Gonzalez and go for player number 3?
Well, we can go on from him. It's this one's. I think every fan in existence of Cleveland Guardians would say Cam Gallagher. There's no way he might stick around. I don't think so. I think Tito held him a little longer than he probably needed to. I don't care if he was the best defensive catcher in the history of baseball. He puts up offensive numbers that are like unthinkable. He actually does nothing. Like that is not a hyperbole. He actually doesn't provide anything on offense. He doesn't walk, doesn't hit. And it's just you can't have that. And when you combine that with Miles Straw and Brennan in the lineup when he's not hot, you've got like a black hole of three hitters. You basically have a six-man lineup, and you're not going to win games like that.
I don't know what to add about Cam Gallagher. I don't remember one play he made this year. I really don't. I watched every Guardians game. I can't remember one play. Nick Melee had a home run last year against the A's. I remember stuff like that. I can't tell you one play Cam Gallagher made. Can't do it. He doesn't impress you. In fact, I think the backup catcher should be David Fry. End of story.
Yeah.
I think I should really move on from there. I'll give one last name. I do agree with Miles Straw and Oscar Gonzalez. This one is a name where people would be like, really? That's being too harsh or blah, blah, blah. But I'm saying this because it's time to move on. They need to trade Shane Bieber. It is time to move on from Bieber. I think he's actually felt at times in 2023 like he wasn't a part of the club. He's almost acting like he's already out. I'm saying this not because he's not talented. I'm saying this because it's time to flip it for a bat, make a trade, and go. So that's why I'm saying Shane Bieber. It's just time. It's time for him to go. If it would have ended differently, I might have a different answer. I don't. Bybee's there. Williams is there. Logan Allen's there. Quantrill, McKenzie, and you have another guy named Espino right behind him. I'm good. I've seen enough. I thought Bieber. I thought acted very strange this year. I think it's time to move on from Bieber.
Yeah, the injury's tough, and I wouldn't be upset if they decided, we need to bring it back. It wouldn't make me upset in the least.
I know,
And
right?
Bieber's been great for us, but we've been so unfortunate. Like the roster construction of so many of those playoff teams, we made it to the playoffs on our pitching, and typically went far on our pitching. But let's look at what the Tampa Bay Rays did this postseason. Oh yeah, played 2 games because when you can't start all 5 guys, and so you don't need 5 stud pitchers.
I
When you
know.
get to his, I mean, Aaron Savali didn't throw an inning. He didn't throw an inning for the Rays, and so you don't need 4 to 5 aces. You've got your headed Bybee and Allen or Bybee and Williams. That is your 1-2. Those two are they look like they should be great. Tristan McKenzie, when he gets healthy, we know what he can do. Logan Allen and Quantrill are fine as your 4 and 5. They're not starting playoff situations. They're just relievers at that point. So yeah, if we really could use a bat, and Bieber's not going to get extended anyway, and this isn't a
No,
front office that likes to let guys walk.
it's time for him to go. Again, it's just time for him to go. He's already acting like he knows he's gone, so let's just help it. If he doesn't want to come back and the Guardians aren't going to pay him, we need outfielders. Let's trade Bieber. Again, this is not because he's not playing well. It's because it's time.
Mm.
Time to move on. So you heard a bunch of names there. I think these are the names that are going to stick out. I'm going to do one more topic, then we're going to say goodbye. If you today, Tony Camino, said our starting shortstop for the Guardians in 2024, who would you pin?
That's a tough question. I'm really high on Rocchio eventually, but I think because perfect, what should have happened this year, it should have been Arias against righties and Ahmed Rosario against lefties. So which should be Arias against righties and Brian Rocchio against
Uh,
lefties until they can really. It's maybe because like Rocchio is. It's going to take a lot for someone else to take that spot from him. He's the top prospect in the organization. He can hit. We saw it when he's down. He's got a great glove. He plays good defense. I think it's his job eventually. Maybe it's a platoon with Arias to start. I'm still wouldn't be upset if it's Tyler Freeman though. He came on when they actually gave him time. I would probably say Arias starts with the majority out of spring training, but there's a lot of time till then.
I am ready for the Rocchio experience. And I have been hearing about this glove. So I'm going to give one observation. It's the only reason why I'm hesitating on it. But I like Rocchio's bat. I love his bat. Love his bat. He has not played well defensively in the major leagues yet. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to leave it there.
He's had moments.
Look at his defense numbers. They're not good.
He's had some really mind-blowing plays at times though. Like there's been things where it's like, wow, there's probably only 10 guys in the league who can make that play.
But he's making plays too. He's had some errors. He's had some errors in big spots.
Yeah.
So I got to see more. I know what Tony's saying, and I've seen some of what Tony's saying. I've seen a guy that'll make some errors, and he's made more errors than Freeman and Arias does. But I'm here on this position with shortstop. I don't know what to say else about Gabriel Arias. I just don't know if it's there. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Freeman, I need to see more of. Arias, I need to see more of. But Rocchio's got a spirit and a spunk. It is time to pin him in at shortstop. It is. Even when he makes some errors once in a while, I think those will go away. Mm-hmm. I really do. But boy, he had some errors. Oof. But all that to be said, he does have a great glove when he's focused. And by far, it's not comparable. Rocchio's bat's far better than the other two. Sorry.
Arias has the most pop for sure. If you look at just pure hard hitting the ball, he really masters right-handed pitching. He just cannot hit lefties, which is very odd. So maybe he's a platoon guy, and that's fine.
I was gonna say it's the old PH.
That's not a bad role to have. He could be a weapon in that role.
No. So that's what we see going forward. Okay. So Miles Straw, if you watch us, we're sorry, we love you, but gotta go. SpongeBob, you made me laugh. You did. You that whole year made me laugh. Cam Gallagher could not have said any better than Tony. And again, my idea with Shane is I don't want to see Shane go, but it is time to go. And the Guardians need to get another outfielder in here. So they need to trade him to get help. They just do. It just makes too much sense. Tony Camino's there. He does all sorts of great articles on BelieveInTheLand.com. He does all sorts of great work. You'll see it all throughout the offseason, too, on our Cleveland Guardians. I'm Andy Billman. See you next time. And I'm going to make my call late by only 1 minute.
All right, not bad.
Boom, 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 boom. Where are you going this week?
Going back to OU for home